you on the second best channel about audio engineering according to FeedSpot in 2019 and in 2020. When I discover something in audio, for me it's like, ooh, kind of moment, you know. I can fly around for the next 2 weeks. Today I'm gonna tell you one of those things. It's definitely life changer for people who into audio like me. And I mean, I hope it will be one of those videos which will change your life as well. I remind you that these videos are just light, entertaining addition to one of the most serious audio production courses. The cool thing is you can attend one free trial class with my current students to check it out how exactly we learn a real class. My students who believe this course is just game changer. You can see some of their opinions on the screen, and I will ask my current students to write some reviews. Just read comments. On this course we even have homeworks where I not just like show you some settings, you know, but I open your own projects in real time and I show you how to make decisions, how to listen to. We compare even your songs to the best sounding songs of all time, and I show you how to bring your songs to the same level. It's 9 months in Skype, monthly payments, and information how to contact me to get a free trial class is on the screen. It's crazy thing, because a lot of people who work with equalizers, they just think they just working with specific frequency. In reality, in audio, everything affects everything. It means no matter what you do at one frequency, you absolutely always affect on the other frequency. Now we're gonna be working on some heavy rock song, then electronic music or piano-based music, and in the end I'm gonna show you vocal or voiceover. There are 2 reasons why it works. First one is normalization requirement, and second, overwhelming. First reason is normalization requirement. Imagine this is your frequency range. Your instrument goes, let's say, from 20 Hz to 20 kHz. So overtones like formants, harmonics, and fundamental tone. Let's say your instrument simply sounds a bit muddy. So let's say you found some, let's say, frequency around like 300 Hz, and this is where your muddiness is. You take this part of the frequency spectrum and you make it quieter, like this. Just because of you take some part of a frequency spectrum and you make it quieter, is basically like you make some part of the instrument quieter, which means overall volume of the instrument goes down. Because of that, your instrument sounds too quiet in the mix. That's why you have to normalize volume of the instrument, and when you normalize volume of the instrument like this, you actually boost volume of the other frequencies you didn't touch. Check it out, I'm gonna show you this example. So I wrote this riff, I recorded it, there is no mixing over here, so listen to the guitar, it sounds really muddy. So guitar sounds like, you know, like you can make some instruments a bit quieter, a bit louder, but to be honest, let's agree that having this guitar in a mix like this, it's not okay. Guitar just like sounds too loud in comparison to drums and bass, right? At the same time, it's not okay to have guitar too quiet. You simply don't hear it and it's totally washed out. You usually have no choice but to find specific volume for the instrument when it's just right. For this particular guitar is -2 decibels. Check it out. This fader, blue fader, is somewhere over here around -2. I need to cut some muddiness. I already found frequency where muddiness is on this guitar is 210 Hz. Now I'm gonna cut too much, just so you hear for sure what exactly happens. Of course, in the real mixing, you don't cut that much. You cut by like 1 dB, 2 dB, 3 dB. I just gonna cut a lot just to show you how far you can go to really clearly demonstrate this rule. I cut this frequency a lot. This guitar will not be sounding muddy, but at the same time it will be too quiet in the mix. So basically with the same volume like we had previously, our guitar just sounds a bit too quiet. I wouldn't say it's too quiet, but I mean, it's definitely not dominating instrument in the mix anymore, it's more like a background sound. We have to normalize volume. You can do it on the output of equalizer or with the fader. Now it has proper volume, but now it sounds harsher, 210 Hz. Let's say in this case it's muddiness. I'm gonna say over here, muddy sound. Muddy. So this range will be 210 and is associated with muddiness. Upper mid-range, around like from 2K, let's say, to 6K, this range will be associated with sharpness or harshness. Annoying, ears irritating. What happens when you drop muddiness down, you make this part of a spectrum quieter. the whole volume of a guitar starts to be too quiet, you grab the whole volume of a guitar and you bring it back to at least to have this guitar at the appropriate volume. But unfortunately, what you did, you brought sharpness up. Now we have no EQ, minus 2.1, right? So this is original volume. So now this guitar sounds muddy. We engage equalizer, we compensate it a bit with some volume boost. We play it. It has more or less proper volume. It doesn't have muddiness, but it has sharpness. So this is what we call frequency mirror effect. You change not only this particular frequency. You don't just improve muddiness, you actually change something in your sound, something else. The coolest thing about the system, you can look at the system from the other side. Some other audio engineers would decide not to cut frequencies. Let's say some audio engineers prefer to boost. And they say, okay, how about let's say we boost something like 3K, our original volume, without EQ. Now we boost 3K plus 3 dB, it would be too loud. You compensate volume, you take blue fader and you put it down, you don't need too much compensation here. Now let's compare before and after, so without equalizer and with original volume minus 2.1, more or less normal volume and muddy. EQing is engaged, a bit of volume compensation. Normal volume, less muddiness than it was before. So you take parameter up, on the other side of the spectrum some other parameter goes down. Cool? So this is what happens with many parameters. When we learn EQ on my course, imagine the same system, but you have like 30 different audio parameters, and not just like bunch of different parameters. They all grouped in specific categories. They even have some specific ratings of importance. I explain how all these little systems work inside of themselves and how these little systems work against other systems in different frequency ranges. You need to know, let's say, prediction method. I created my own hybrid method. A lot of people for some reason believe equalizer is only for the battery. Actually, equalizer can bring a lot of disadvantages to your sound, like some cons. And also you need to think about other instruments in the mix. Now we go to the second reason why frequency mirror effect works. It's overwhelming effect. If your instrument just simply contains a lot of information about some range, it simply overwhelms all other frequencies. If you have a lot of muddiness, you feel sharpness, high frequencies and low frequencies much less pronounced. Let's say our guitar originally sounded like this. I'm gonna solo the guitar. Can you say it sounds sharp? So basically when you have bass guitar with a lot of lows, you cannot say it sounds brighter than hi-hat. If you have very bright hi-hat with a lot of highs, you cannot say, oh, this hi-hat is fatter than super low sounding bass synthesizer. Now I live in Canada, but in my home country there is huge problem with street animals, you know. Cats and dogs, they live on the street, they starve and all this stuff. And actually some amazing people over there, some girls who spend their time, their money, they don't have funds, but they help, they organize like some surgeries for them, they help them to find new home and all this stuff. These people just saints, you know. And let's say this girl curse sometimes, she says maybe, you know, her positive deeds overwhelm this one negative word. The same with audio, if you have too much low mid, you overwhelm anything you have in highs, in lows, and you don't already say about instrument, it sounds bright. No, it sounds muddy, because it has a lot of low mid. It's also frequency mirror effect. So what I'm trying to say, it's not only about equalizer, it's even about just frequency balance on its own. Even before you start applying EQ, you already may consider frequency mirror effect. I'm gonna show you the second project. I was thinking about synthesizer-based project or piano-based project. I chose piano-based project. In some frequency ranges, it's not just about like always the same parameter. Sometimes some instruments may contain some other adjective which you can use to explain sound. For example, instead of sharpness, you can have, for example, metallic sort of a resonance. You know, when it sounds a bit like when you take a, let's say, metallic plate and you talk to it, next to it, it's kind of resonating and makes this kind of almost like metallic kind of resonance. I wrote this piano, as you can see over here on the screen. It's mirror frequency effect, muddy versus metallic. So originally you can hear this piano sounds a bit muddy. I boost, let's say, 2.4 kHz. Again, I boost too much just to show you the tendency. Of course, if you boost just a bit less, it will be less noticeable difference, but anyway it will be there. It sounds too loud in a mix, right? It's too loud piano. So I compensate volume. So now basically it's the same kind of volume for the piano, but adjusted with equalizer. I engage this plugin, you're gonna hear frequency boost and volume compensation at the same time because it's implemented inside of the plugin. Without, metallic aspect of the sound goes up, right? And then piano sounds just too loud. I grab the whole volume of a piano and I drop it down. I drop it to the point where it sounds acceptable, like proper volume in the mix. Parameter metallic versus parameter muddiness. So metallic goes up, it means muddiness goes down. Let's say I take the same 2.4, I make upper mid-range quieter. Now you hear piano sounds too quiet in the mix, so I compensate it back to make sure piano sounds okay with volume. And now before and after, before piano was muddy, and some metallic aspect. You engage this plugin, it's 2 times more muddy, but absolutely no metallic sound. There are much more than that. Main conclusion of this video should be, you should never just think like if you do something with one frequency, you just do something with one frequency. You should understand when you do something with one frequency, you absolutely always change some other frequencies around. A lot of people like this sweep technique idea where you sweep through frequency range, and when you find some bad frequency, you cut it. Then you sweep further with the second point, you find some bad frequency, you cut it. Let's say we process in voiceover. Audio engineering, by the way, it's not only about mixing music. A lot of audio engineers in cinemas, video games, TV production, radio production. I was a senior engineer for the biggest broadcasting company in my region. I record some voice sample. Let's say we say something like, Seth MacFarlane, KGB, Seth MacFarlane, KGB. A lot of people, to be honestly, do it exactly like this, and if you're interested to hear about this, I have a video on my channel called Sweep EQ Technique in the name of a video, so you can find it on my channel, but anyway. Seth MacFarlane, KGB, Seth MacFarlane, KGB. So we have this 130 Hz crazy boomy. So I cut this 135, I just show you how people commonly do it with the sweep technique. Seth MacFarlane, KGB, Seth MacFarlane, KGB. It's like, woo, kind of like room feedback, you know. So sounds bad, people say, oh, it sounds bad, I'm gonna cut it. So people cut it as well. Seth MacFarlane. Then they proceed with the next point. Seth MacFarlane, KG. Oh my god, 385. Seth MacFarlane, KGB. So 530 something, right? Sounds really bad. So also cut it. And people say, yeah, I fixed some bad frequencies. That's it. It's a good thing. But you know what? How about frequency mirror effect? Don't you think if you cut so many mid frequencies, you probably affected on some other frequencies, don't you think? According to frequency mirror effect, if you cut low mid frequencies, you actually probably boosted something in upper mid range. So what we could boost on this voice, just to show you the tendency, the more you cut, the more you boost in upper mid range. I specifically gonna exaggerate cuts right now to make it like really noticeable for you. But of course, in real life you cut not as much, so you're not gonna change that much, but you always change at least a bit. And in audio production, a bit is always a lot. You know, because in audio, like every little nuance matters. Too much right now, I compensate volume. So before and after it should be more or less similar in volume. Seth MacFarlane, KGB. Seth MacFarlane, KGB. You know, so it's much more pushed. This is also what frequency mirror effect is. When voice has a lot of lows, but sibilances. Those sibilances don't look like that bad. But when you cut all this bottom end from the voice, you don't have anything to compensate this top end of the voice, and this top end start to sound much more pronounced. So voice sounds more harsh, and you definitely would need to apply like de-esser and all this stuff. But again, what I can teach you in this short video, right? Plus my policy to put just 10% of the power of the course to the videos. I keep the most serious stuff to the course. If you want to check it out, the class, it's for free. You see exactly how we learn with my current students. I already went through this painful process over the years. With this course, I guarantee you're gonna save a lot by not wasting your time and money to some equipment or techniques you don't really need. Secondly, it's pretty affordable. For the same amount of money, you can buy like 3-4 plugins or one microphone, but those things don't guarantee results. My course guarantees results. And you pay monthly, so it's easy to make payments. So if you're interested, you can see information on the screen how to contact me.